Welcome back, guys. Nick Dark here. This is going to be another Forex League market review from this past week. You guys can see here, June 12th. And we're going to cover these 6. And all that we're doing here is reviewing, as the title suggests, this past week's analysis. So at the beginning of each week, every Sunday, we put out a bunch of analysis for the week ahead. So this is kind of our forecast, our mock-up of what we would like to see for the week ahead, and then we'll give you guys 2 scenarios with detailed explanations, and then at the end of the week we'll do this review. And this review is meant so that we can see how accurate we were, how these analyses played out, what we can take away and learn from this past week. So let's start it off. We always start off with DXY. This is kind of, especially lately, the market mover, right? The US dollar, that's all that this chart represents. And we want to be aware of where the strength is. Is the dollar ultimately bullish and sustaining a very strong bullish trend through the week, or is it bearish? We want to be aware of that trend because the dollar makes up for 80% of all trade, and it influences the market dramatically, especially when there's huge movement. So when you have an asset that makes up that much amount of trade, when something big is happening with that currency, it's going to ripple through the market. You're going to see some sort of reactions. So we won't use this necessarily as a trade entry. We won't see, okay, the dollar's bullish, here's an engulfing, we're going to enter long on AU. We're not, or short on AU. We're not going to use it like that. We're more or less using it as an indicator, just making ourselves aware of the trends so that we can better make trades and trade setups on other pairs, because we are trend traders after all. And usually if we spot a pretty hefty trend, a daily bullish or 4-hour bullish trend, that's usually going to sustain through the week ahead, and we can make pretty good setups like these 2 here, ideas, and get pretty close to see what's going to happen. And usually one of these 2 do play out. These are ideal scenarios. Obviously there's more ways price action could play out, but these are what I would consider 10 out of 10 setups, perfect setups for price action that we'd like to see, rather than just some choppiness. We always prefer structure. We always prefer clean trends, and that just helps simplify things and make things super clear on a week-to-week basis. So again, here we are on DXY. We did analyze this on the daily because there was a lot of volume, and we wanted to be aware of this zone, 103 resistance. So we are kind of reacting at this zone a little bit. We saw reversal here. We didn't really get the lower high and follow through below 103. So the original analysis stands. We're looking for structure above 103, meaning higher lows with good follow through, or lower highs below 103, and that would determine this bearish on the daily, which are looking lower, and so on. So let's see how this played out. Obviously the overall trend is very bullish, so I think the bullish scenario was the most likely. Let's see how it played out though. And it just kind of continued bullish. We established a new high. Now it's pulling back. We're still above 103, seeing some rejection. So it's looking more bullish. Okay, but it looks like we are, following trade path 1. So this is pretty accurate so far. Literally was just a continuation of, the bullish dollar that we've been seeing. So with that, let's move over to AU. This was our first tradable pair, AUDUSD on the 4-hour. So what was happening here? The daily time frame was overall bullish. And then this was a 4-hour bullish trend that was essentially acting as a daily retracement up towards 0.725 resistance. So this is an area where we were expecting reversals, and we're expecting a daily lower high to present itself. So that's exactly what this is here. Right? It was a nice reversal once we had this confirmation of a new bearish trend on the 4-hour. It had confirmed this daily lower high, and we knew that this was going to be a pretty big short opportunity, looking to target all these support levels on the way down. So at the time of analysis, this is already kind of took off, so there wasn't really a trade entry available. So what we were expecting was look just for some sort of pullback, looking for lower highs to continue to ride this trend down. So let's see how this played out. Actually, the opposite would have been a break of this lower high, looking for a higher low. That would have been bullish structure above 0.7115, and that would have sent us back to a bullish 4-hour trend. And then maybe we would have considered targeting back towards 0.725. But obviously this was the most likely scenario, this blue trade path. So let's see how this played out. Okay, went super bearish. Didn't give us the pullback originally up here. It just continued to tank. We actually went straight to the low at 0.685, pulled back for another lower high at 0.7, and it confirmed, and now is actually in an active bearish trade. So look at that. Right, we had two scenarios here. The bias was right on both of them. However, this one didn't pull back originally. This was more of a high volume move and took us to a new low immediately. And then, but we did get the next lower high, so it did play out very well. Really, really good setup on AU. Let's move over to AJ. Take a look at what we got here, how this past week did. So AJ was overall bullish as well. Pretty overextended. I mean, you know, we were looking for support at 95. Ideally, I didn't want to see a quick reversal. I wanted to see some consolidation, spend some time in this area because of how dramatic this push was. Right, we're only right at 38.2 fib level. So I would have liked to see some consolidation and then a continuation. The opposite would have been seeing a lower high below 95, and this would have probably sent us off into a 4-hour bearish trend, looking to target towards these lower support levels. So let's see how we played out. Okay, dropped lower, went straight to 93 support, and now we're bouncing a little bit. We have 2 touches off 93, 2 touches off this 95 area, right? A couple wicks there. So it looks like we're just consolidating. This may continue bearish. We'll continue to look for lower highs below support levels, like 93 here, and just look for that continuation. Play it downward, entering on lower highs, targeting the next support level, and so on and so on. For us to go bullish into this week, looks like we'll have to break 95. But it's a little too soon to tell. We need more information, need more price action. But price action, AJ here is clearly going with trade scenario 2. Right, looking more bearish at the moment. So that's AJ. That one played out okay. Let's move over to UJ, the overextended pair of the month. Absolutely crazy movement. Super, super bullish. Look at this. We rallied right into 134. And there's really no trade available here, guys. We know that structure's all the way down here at 131. Right near the 38.2 fib level. So it's got to pull back quite a bit, right? 300 pips just from this zone to this zone. But the most likely, based on what we're seeing from price action, is that this is just going to keep rallying. It's not found its ultimate high yet. We need to keep pushing. Nothing here suggests this is a bearish chart yet. So this one was really at the bottom of my watch list. I needed to see just a ton more price action. So let's play it forward and just see what happens. We'll talk through it. So it continued to consolidate, right? We failed to break above in the sense that it never formed a higher low, right? Never formed structure, continued to push higher. Didn't happen. It failed after this last bullish attempt. Came down to hit the 38.2, which is interesting. And now it's pushing back up with pretty big volume. So we'll have to reanalyze this. We are back around 134, so this is going to be pretty similar to this scenario. But we'll need to kind of define structure a little better. Okay, so that means this probably has to push up a little more. We'll come back for the higher low, clean price action, then we would consider entries. But again, I'll reanalyze this, all of these, as a matter of fact, and present them to you guys tonight, actually. We do this every Sunday, right? Sunday Market Blitz, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's UJ. Just need more action on that, but it's interesting how it played out. Whip down to hit structure real quick. But let's move over to EJ. So EJ 4-hour. This one was overall bullish as well, looking a little cleaner in terms of, or compared to the other JPY pairs anyway. Right, we pushed up, we hit 144. It was on the way for the pullback, and we saw that 140 support was a nice little confluence area, right? 61.8's there. This is a decent enough pullback. Would have liked to see a nice continuation, nice higher low, good follow through, and there'd be some setups to enter long on, targeting back towards 144. So pretty straightforward, right? Just a nice play of structure, nice trend continuation. That's really what we were looking for. Now, if 140 failed to catch price action, we were looking for lower highs below, because at that point, it's very likely that we'd hit 137. There's not much else to catch price action. Really minor support levels throughout until 137. So that would be maybe a good opportunity to catch a lower high, enter short, get a couple 100 pips out of it. Because again, this is 300 pips from 140 to 137. This may look like it's not that much distance, but it is. That's a pretty big distance there. So let's play this forward, see how price action played out. So we hit 140, rejected initially, came back, failed to push higher, right? There was no follow through on that. Instead, price action responded with an engulfing, sent us through 140, down to 78.6 actually, which is right at 138.5 area. Actually, the wick hit 130, just past 138. So that's interesting. It came back up. We're above 140 now. Didn't really break this high yet. So it's interesting to see how price action is going to play out this week. I'll have to reanalyze this. I would say it didn't really follow a trade path because it went bearish first, then came back up. So, price action just hasn't chosen a direction yet. We do see increasing volume. There may be some patterns here I will have to reanalyze and present to you guys. But yeah, sad to see that EJ didn't play out. That's trading though. So let's wrap this up with gold. This is going to be the final. And what's been happening with gold? So higher time frame stuff, guys, we're looking bearish, right? And then we broke 1870, which was a pretty key zone. Hit the low at 1800, again another key zone. Price action pulled back on the 4 hour, and now we've been consolidating since. So 4 hour is just consolidating, sideways movement. Higher time frame stuff is bearish. So the likely scenario was that this was going to continue to range. We see price action reverse at 1870, head lower down towards 1830. The other scenario was that this breaks bullish. So we need to see a new high made, breaking these lower highs here, right? Then we see a new structure above, and then higher low forms, good follow through. Then we could consider long scenarios there, maybe targeting back towards 1930. Really depended on how price action played out, but let's see what happened. So it dropped immediately. So it went with trade path 1, right? Continued bearish. Dropped right off of 1870. Hit 1830. We saw a ton of reaction. It tried to break lower. Couldn't really hold it. Did break retest. Pushed a little bit lower, right? Didn't quite make it to 1800 before it pulled back. And now we're back in the range. Okay, at the lower half of the range, but we'll reanalyze this. It's going to be either a break of 1830 or a bounce off 1830. Pretty straightforward. But again, guys, that was this past week, June 12th. And we're going to reanalyze all of these tonight. Sunday Market Blitz, again, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join us, and we'll give you guys a fresh outlook as to what we can expect for this week. Until then, guys, take care. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Peace.